Did you get a chance to chat with Natalie Randolph, the female coach?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. She was in there doing an interview when I came in. Congratulated her and wished her good luck this season.
Did you imagine when you were in high school, she looks so petite, you kind of wonder how she can handle those big
I think when I was in high school, we would have a lot more guys go out for the football team than she was coaching.
The guys you gave yesterday off, you see the positive impact of that?
Yeah, usually there's more bounce in their legs, especially one if they have a little age on them. Number two, if they're injured the year before, usually it's an extra day recovery time, which they look good when they come out, and I think we saw that today.
The guys who were off today, they were all resting, no injuries or anything like that?
No, we just had a couple off today, and they still went through installation, still went through individual drills, but not many out there today that weren't practicing.
Where do things stand with Jamal, Coach?
He's just a little banged up. You know, anytime you have surgery like he did and you get back after it and work pretty hard like he's been working, you know, there's always a little setback. But after the MRI came back and it was negative, you know, there's just a little soreness there and he's just working through it. Practiced a little bit today, but in the one-on-ones you could tell he was a little bit tired. So we didn't push it and should be back tomorrow or the next day.
Malcolm getting any closer?
Yeah, he's getting closer, but you can see, you know, through his rehab work, he's still not there. And those guys, you know, working extremely hard when they're in rehab, and, you know, you can just see that, you know, he's not 100% yet, and we don't want to set him back and throw him out there too early.
Mike, as long as he plays in the 4 preseason games, is that enough time for him to make his case?
Oh, yeah. No, sure, there's plenty of time with 4 preseason games. You just don't want him to set himself back, and where he goes back another 2 weeks. You know, he's very close to getting ready to practice and show us what he can do, and hopefully by Monday he can do that.
Mike, Albert looks like he's ramping it up out here. I don't know if that's a fair assessment. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, we're doing, in fact, we're giving him an MRI today because his knee's been a little bit sore, more sore than it has been in the past. In the past, every 3rd or 4th day, you know, it'd be a little sore, and according to the trainers. But now it's been a couple days consistently sore. So, just preventive measures. We're going to MRI it, see if he's okay, and then we'll go through the rehab work to get him stronger.
So, Mike, he obviously, I mean, if he's getting an MRI, he obviously can't anytime soon here attempt the conditioning test again. I mean, that's fair to say. Right?
Well, just wait and see. I mean, that's why he gets treatment. He was out there doing some individual work today, and was a lot further ahead today than I thought he would be. So, today it surprised me in how well he did during the drill work. So we'll just wait and see.
Jim and Jacob reported to you that you're feeling more comfortable in the scheme, although it's just not.
It takes time. You know, one of the reasons that he's out there working all the work to get used to our terminology and put him through things he hasn't done, and it's a process.
Will the knee change at all, whether or not he would have to pass the test if he's unable to take it?
Explain what the question is.
Well, if the knee keeps him from taking the test, and will he still have to pass the test before he can play?
Well, you can't practice. You can't practice if the knee's not strong enough. If you can't do drills and push off of it, you can't run. If you can't run, you can't play.
Mike, obviously he's not going to play in the first preseason game, and you don't have a lot of veterans do that anyway. But as we get into practice after that first preseason game, don't you have to start inserting him so that by the 3rd game this guy can be getting some reps?
If you take a look at last year, how many games he played without practicing, well, we got to make sure that he can practice so he can stay healthy and play at a very high level. I can't tell you how many. I got all the stats in there, how many games that he played where he didn't practice throughout the whole week. If you don't practice throughout the week, the chance of you practicing, if you don't practice, you're not going to play well. I mean, you got to practice well to play well. That's what the NFL football is all about. Every once in a while, you might get a guy in there that practices a little bit and has a good game, but if you don't practice consistently, it's hard to play consistently. And that's what I'm after. I'm after him playing well for the whole season. When you take a look at his injuries last year, I mean, it was couldn't practice. If you can't practice, you're not going to get the job done. So my job is to make sure that he can play the best once we start our season. And that's to get him in football shape. And if he's not ready to go, we'll make sure that when he is ready to go, he can go full speed.
Mike, fairly or unfairly, he has a reputation of being a guy who people have questioned in his past if he has always been legitimately injured, and I know fans are questioning that now.
I don't, let's not, we've talked about it. All I'm telling you is that we're going to get him ready to play. I'm not going to answer any questions like that. That's all speculation. I'm just going to treat Albert the way I treat any other player, is see what he can do on the practice field and try to get him in the best shape possible. Do that with every one of our players on our football team. Just like Malcolm Kelly. I'm not going to throw him out there before he's ready to play.
Like Roger Goodell said that his office met with Santana Moss about these HGH reports that came out in May. Did they meet with you at all, their office?
No. I don't even like the insinuation when you say things like that, because like I told you, I could give you 50 names of different people that doctor met with, some high-profile names. So when you mention something like that, to me, it insinuates that there's possibly some guilt. And unless you have some facts to back it up, I would wish you'd go another direction.
Mike, you had the officials out here for the first time today, getting these guys in the mix. Is that something like to get these players, dealing with that aspect of it?
Yeah, every year we get the officials in for 3 or 4 days. They'll come in tonight, address the team, talk about the new rule changes, differences in the umpire this year, where he's located, and just the basic rules. And it's nice to have them out there for a few days, and players can ask questions, have them in their meetings, and it's 3 days that's worthwhile for us.
Do you start working these guys right now, Mike?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I got after him today a little bit, but it may cost me later.
Mike, when you're looking at reducing the 80 to 53, especially with young guys, how much weight do you put on the practices versus the preseason games? Obviously those are important, but
it's a combination of everything you do. It's just not, the summer camp. It's part of the off-season program, and it is game situations. The guys respond in game situations, or they go the other direction, they lose their focus. So I can't say just one thing, but collectively, there's a lot of evaluation going on.
When you look at a guy like LeBron, you said a great athlete. As part of his challenge, keeping control on the field, knowing when to lay the hit, not over pursuing, is that kind of a battle for a guy like that who can really fly?
Well, LeBron's got so much speed, like you indicated, that part of it is kind of slowing the game down, and it's a lot of film study. And he was at a lot of our OTAs, and I think he really improved in our OTAs when he was out there. And it's an ongoing battle. The more of a student of the game you are, especially at the safety position, the more you're going to make plays. And I'm excited about him because hopefully we'll put him in position to make a lot of plays.
Because you don't want to hold him back, right? I mean, you want him to be able to go.
Well, we're not going to hold him back, but at the same time, the game has to slow down for you. You just can't be running the run. There's times to run, there's times to lay back, and hopefully he'll learn that with our system here over the next 4 preseason games.
Mike, you talked the other day about sending Ray to Hawaii with chemo. Chemo said it saved him about 7 pounds. Investment for you?
Yeah, some guys know exactly what they're going to do when they're away. And Chemo said, hey, I got a big family. There's no way I'm going to practice 2 times a day, so could Ray come with me? I said, there's a smart man. And so he worked out early and he worked out late. And, Chemo's a guy that I was thinking about giving him a day off, but he says, hey, I'm behind, Coach. I got to go. And, for a guy that was off for a year, practicing 2 times a day all through OTAs, losing a bunch of weight, getting back in football shape, it's nice to see, his mindset and his condition has really improved.
He impressed you, doesn't he, Coach?
I did.
Coach, after 8 days, can you give an assessment of the rookies that were drafted, how they performed so far?
Well, like I said, I don't want to go specific in each rookie because, we could sit here and talk forever. But, it's an ongoing process. Usually the first week, we're throwing so much at them like we have, even through today. And now we've got our whole offense in, our whole defense in, our special teams package. Now we can go back and review things, not only from this summer camp, but through our OTAs, which we've done a couple times when we had the 20 practices. So now they're feeling more comfortable with our terminology, more comfortable with their system. Now we get a chance to see them in preseason games and, over the next week as well.
Coach, how much have you has the weather here been a challenge in terms of keeping guys hydrated, recognizing whether they're dragging and really trying to keep them fresh? You gave some veterans off yesterday, but what kind of precautions are you taking, knowing the weather around here?
Well, so far it's been very easy because the weather's cooperated. We tried to order that weather, and the guy upstairs cooperated with us, and it doesn't happen all the time. We're very lucky that we've had the weather that we've had. You probably saw me today. I was in a wetsuit today to kind of try to get a feel for how the players are doing. We're a little black long sleeve suit where I kind of get a feel for how the players are. It was even hot today, but it was fine for about the first hour. It was hot for that second hour, so it was a good practice for us. We need that heat. We're going to have to play in it, and I kind of like starting early where it's not quite as hot, and it gets hot as the practice goes on.
You should have just asked Bobby Turner.
What's that?
You should have just asked Bobby Turner.
Yeah, he does that all the time, though. So.
When do you expect Mike Fleury then?
I don't know. Mike's got a concussion, and you don't know what those concussions. He's had one before, and so we'll just have to wait and see.
Coach, you've got two of the all-time greats being inducted in the Hall of Fame this weekend with Smith and Jerry Rice. What will you take away from their careers going up against them?
Well, I coached, Jerry, was with Jerry for a few years, and, Jerry, is one of the best players, if not the best player to me, to ever play the game. I don't think I've ever been around a guy that practiced like he did. In the off season, he'd be in there 8 hours a day, and he'd be relentless. Not only did he work out, but he studied film, and, his goal was to be the best that ever played the game at any position. And he worked at it, in all the years I was with him. He never missed one workout. And I'd get in there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and Jerry would be in there, and he'd work out as hard as anybody I've ever been around, and one of the reasons why he was so good and played so long. And Emmett, coaching at Florida for 4 years, I followed their program and got a chance to know Emmett, and besides being a great football player, he's a class guy. So see those two guys go in together, very special.
In the dog days of training camp, did you consider setting up a scrimmage with another team or an inter-squad scrimmage, or are you just happy to wait for the first preseason game?
We have done that in the past. When I was at Denver, if it worked out where you're playing a team, home and home, and we would do that. I thought the first year we'd stay away from that, just try to get our system in. Maybe in years to come we'll try that a little bit more. But with 4 preseason games, I didn't think you have to do it. If it goes to 2 in the future, I think some teams will do that more, maybe even scrimmage some of the younger guys to evaluate some of the young guys.
Have you liked having camp here so far?
I have. It's worked out pretty good. We got everybody staying, within 2 miles of the facility. It is like a camp for them. They don't leave till 9:30 at night. They got curfew at 11. They get in here nice and early, and I think they'll be happy when it ends.
No reason to ever leave here then, right?
Probably.
You need that treadmill in there too, don't you?
What's that?
You needed that treadmill in there, don't you?
We got a lot of treadmills in there.
Hey Mike, London's obviously been pretty effective as a tackler, a Pro Bowler. He said he's blitzing now for the first time since maybe his 4th year in Buffalo. Can you talk a little bit about how you see him adjusting to 3-4 and what more he can add to his game this season in the defense?
Well, I think London is a very, very solid football player. London can play any defense, 3-4, 4-3. London's a student of the game. He's just such a class individual, and if you had all guys like London Fletcher, you wouldn't need coaches. So I'm glad they're not all like London, because that's what you work for. I mean, that's what you're hoping you have, because he's just a natural leader, and I'm just glad we got him.
How do you think the wide receivers are grasping the offense at this point in camp? Injuries to Kelly aside and injury to Furry aside, what do you think? What have you seen from the wide receivers so far?
Well, it's not just a wide receiver; it's any position. I think it's a challenge in the first 5-6 days of any offense installation, especially ours, because we really challenge all the different positions with our passing game, and so they got a lot to learn. But now we isolate it down a little bit, get ready for a game plan, and things kind of clear up a little bit.